Welcome back to our grand solar minimum news update tonight on this Monday, August 26, 2019. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Let's get right into some space weather news, and boy do we have a lot to talk about tonight. Here we are at the grandsolarminimum.com. Our solar wind speeds at time of report was at 352.1 kilometers per second with a density of 21.2. Our sun is blank. That is 19 consecutive days in a row without sunspots, a total of 163 days without sunspots. I want to make a note here on the channel. When we record the solar updates every morning, the update on space weather happens sometime around midday here in US time. So in the mornings, the data will probably read the same as 19 straight days, 163 days consecutively without sunspots. At some point at midday, it will update because this site is actually being run overseas. It is not being run in the US. So I just wanted to point that out if anybody was ever confused. Sometimes you see the same numbers from the evening show into the next morning's show as well. All right, KP indices are sitting at a 1 with a 24-hour max of 2. There we see our TCI with a 3.03, again slightly cooling down, but we will see some solar wind speeds increase here in the very near future, starting tomorrow into Wednesday. And let's take a look at the SDO in motion. Hallelujah, it's working. So we have two coronal holes right now that we are watching. We will, let's see here. No, not yet. Thought that worked.
Yeah, SEO.
Gotcha. Well, I was going to show you something real quick on the, there we go. So this is the coronal hole that we will see tomorrow into Wednesday. And then we have this disturbance up here. This is going to affect more the northern part of our magnetic field. It will still affect us. So again, we're not sure. A little bit right here happening as the coronal hole starts to open up a little bit more wider, and that would be a direct hit on our magnetic field. So right now we are just going to continue to monitor this, taking a look at the eastern limb if we see any kind of active region or anything else developing, and at the time we don't. So let's take a look all the way around here. There's the two coronal holes we're closely watching. There is an active region there at the negative 90 mark, so just beyond the eastern limb. We might have a small region of activity, but other than that, we don't see any major coronal holes on the horizon or anything like that. Something is developing in the southern part of the sun's hemisphere, but nothing that would affect Earth directly at this point. So the sun continues to remain quiet, folks, and this does not look like it's going to change at any moment soon. As what, 19 days in a row, is that what I said on sunspots? So that's quite a bit. 163 days for 2008 or 2019. Sorry, I was thinking about the last minimum. Take a look at our TSI. Right now it is sitting at a 1360.6367. That was as of August 18th, 2019. Again, TSI came in right around 1360.6367, staying pretty steady here in the recent days. All right, let's go ahead and check out our world news with Mari.
Thank you, Jake. On to the world news. Another small eruption at Asamina Volcano, Japan. A small eruption took place at the volcano at 10:28 UTC on August 25th, 2019. The alert level remains unchanged at level 2. The volcano is located 140 kilometers, that's 87 miles northwest of the capital, Tokyo. This volcano has had several major Plinian eruptions eruptions, the last two which occurred in 1108, which was a VEI 5, and in 1783, a VIE 4. The eruption on August 25th ejected volcanic ash of about 600 meters, that's 1,968 feet above the crater. The JMA warned of possible airborne rock debris and pyroclastic flows within about 2 kilometers, that's a 1.2-mile radius of the crater. The eruption follows another similar eruption. On August 7th, volcanic ash rose up to 4,300 meters, that's over 14,000 feet above sea level. Local authorities said there were no immediate reports of injuries. JMA said at the time it expects more eruptions capable of affecting nearby communities. Pyroclastic flows are possible within 4 kilometers, that's 2.5 miles of the crater. It said it's urging residents and tourists not to approach the volcano. The current alert level is a level 2. German insurers pay out 1.3 billion in euros for natural hazard losses in the first half of 2019. Storms, hail, lightning, and heavy rain caused insurance losses of 1.3 billion euros. That's 1.45 billion in the US. The German Insurance Association announced on Monday, although the GDV noted that in contrast to the storm and hail, more than half of German homeowners were still not insured against extended natural hazards. This has meant that the actual damage caused by heavy rainfall and hail is much higher. Over to the States, we have some crazy pop-up storms that have caused some serious damage in several states. Check out this lightning strike at the PGA Tour Championship in Atlanta. 6 people were injured at the East Lake Golf Club on Saturday when lightning struck a tree near the south end of the course. The incident occurred less than 30 minutes after the third round started. The PGA Tour Championship had been halted due to the weather conditions. Over to Missouri, Carl Junction Schools tweeted out, "It is with heavy hearts that we share with you one of our 8th grade students passed away in flash flood waters. Police said the teen was walking by the water in a drainage ditch when he fell in and the current swept him away." These pop-up storms with very intense precipitation have been happening more frequently. Take a look at the flash flooding that's covered the high school football field in Eureka, Missouri. Over to Fort Smith, Arkansas, another sad reminder of just how quick a flash flood can turn deadly. An Arkansas woman was swept away from an apartment parking lot. Her car was swept into a creek by flash floods while she was delivering newspapers at an apartment complex. Also in North Carolina, landslides in the Nantahala Gorge has closed US 19 and 74. According to the North Carolina Department of Transportation, the road is expected to be closed through this evening, August 26, according to the NCDOT website. Back to you, Jake.
All right, quick shout out to Thor, one of our moderators out there in the chat. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, and we are very sorry for your loss, sir. Guys, quickly, before we get into our first break, before we go into climate news, I want to do, first of all, thank Mari for that report. Kind of a slow news day, and that's good. We could use the break, honestly. Every day you do this kind of stuff, and there's constant content, world news, and it's just, it is kind of a breath of fresh air when you can actually, there is a low amount of stories to cover for a change. But we thought this was also important. Mari really, drew everything out to where everybody could understand this. So as you all know, we had the report of a 70,000 foot ash plume at a volcano. One channel was reporting this live or breaking news, and another website reported it as well. Now, Volcano Discovery does show the initial report, okay? We're not saying that it's not there on the website. All right, we're pointing out here that the first report at 1812. All right, the typo was FL 700. All right, that's the typo. There's no such there would never be. First of all, and Mari has really done a lot of thought behind this, but she pointed this out. There would never be a flight level at 700. All right, 70,000 feet. What are we flying at? A space shuttle at 70. UFO.
Aliens.
It's aliens. Okay, so that's a good point to think out as well. Now, rated with low confidence, as we circle down here at the bottom, some reports state obscured by clouds that they could not confirm, and on the air side of aviation safe. So basically, let's be safe than sorry. They put a red alert out. They couldn't get a good report. Their view is obscured. So they put out this initial report. 15 minutes later, it comes out with a measured of FL 230, downgraded upon further observation 15 minutes later. No ash cloud at 70,000 feet. It's just going to disappear to 23,000 feet in 15 minutes. And that is the truth. I know there are certain folks that I talked to today who also answered that question correctly as well. So again, we believe the first report was done basically on the caution for aviation. If we do have a serious situation, they did not want to mess around that time, and they quickly, within 15 minutes, got it right and corrected it so that things like this wouldn't happen where the internet blows up. Now, we haven't seen any reports about this on any of the major news channels, not even weather.com or AccuWeather. No one else is reporting this but Volcano Discovery. Tokyo VAAC is another area where you can get real-time data and what it's actually doing right now. But we never had a explosion at 70,000 feet. And I noticed some comments from other people from other channels, and a lot of these folks are saying, wow, this is getting close to that time to go to the grocery store and stock up on everything you can. I don't want to be in the Northern Hemisphere this winter. Other comments of concern about running out of supply or just being too cold this winter. And it's reports like that kind of get people a little bit more on edge, especially with what I have to report tonight when we talk about the Farmer's Almanac situation. So I think there comes a level of let's make sure we're vetting this information a little better before we report this. Because now we've started another divide where people who believe certain individuals are having a hard time grasping that this was never a 70,000 foot ash plume. And the person that I spoke to, and I'm not going to mention his name, maybe he'll text me later and I can mention it in Wednesday's broadcast, but all of you know who he is, and he's very respected throughout the GSM community. But out of respect, because I know what he's doing now, he's kind of stepping out of the shadows. I'm not going to mention his name, but this guy, basically, I would trust as far as a reliable source when it comes to information about volcanoes and grand solar minimum. He knows. And asking him, before I showed him this, I asked him, I said, could a 70,000 ash plume drop down to a 23,000 foot ash plume in less than 20 minutes? And he said no. I mean, it was a quick answer. It came right out. It fired right back as no. And then I showed him this. And I haven't heard back from him since I showed him this actual graphic right here. And, again, this wasn't to be right. This wasn't to be, haha, we're better than you. This was to get the truth out because Mari and Teo from Watchers.news were actually communicating back and forth last night. And Mari spent a good portion of the evening and into the morning vetting this information. And she couldn't find satellite imagery. She couldn't find earthquake data that supported this. And again, this was just one of those situations where it was a typo and the FL700 was put in. It was also probably lifted to a code red just to be on the safe side. And the bottom even shows you where it says low confidence in this report. So I hope this puts it to rest. I doubt it will. There's still some people that might dispute this information. That's fine. But I know the truth, and other people that have communicated to me, also TSM Solar Observations tweeted out this morning as well that there was no 70,000 foot ash plume that erupted from this volcano. So when I hear from people like Starman and Teo and Mari, who's always been the fence center of everything and vets everything to the point where it's ridiculous. I like those three. I like those three right there. Starman and Teo especially, but Mari, my in-house go-to vetter here. Those three people right there gave me pretty good confidence about reporting this. Plus, we can't find any news channel talking about this. I mean, folks, if this really if this was a 70,000 foot eruption, this would be all over mainstream. I don't want to hear that they don't cover these high altitude erupt. No, that's not true. We all heard about the Ilion volcano that went off at 63,000 feet. I saw that on weather.com and actually on the Weather Channel while watching evening weather report. And I've also seen coverage on Manum was also brought up again on weather.com and AccuWeather. So they do cover these high altitude eruptions, and this one definitely would be at least flashed at the bottom line of Fox News or some news organization at that point. But we hope everybody understands what this means and where we stand on this. We're not saying that Volcano Discovery did not report this. We're saying that this report was corrected very quickly, 15 minutes later. And again, it is not possible for an ash plume to drop from 73,000 feet. Some were saying 75,000 feet to 23,000 feet in less than 20 minutes. Mari, I know you're monitoring the chat. Anybody that has any information that might be able to top what we have right now, or is it pretty much a level playing field right now?
I think they're talking about something totally not relevant.
Interesting. Well, okay, so if you guys watch this in the replay, hopefully you pick up what we're laying down here. So, good enough. We can move on then. All right, it's settled. Oh, another chart too to show you these flight levels, folks.
How easily it can be 6 years.
Yes.
With people.
7,000 meters is around 24,000 feet, approximately. So, but we'll leave this up on the website. You guys can check it out. And before we take a quick break, remember to use GSM Love when you guys are looking at these t-shirts. Save 15% off. That promo will go through the 31st of August. We'll be right back, guys.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.
All right, we're moving right along tonight here. Let's check out some climate news. The DNC to avoid single-issue climate change debates. I know, I'll come out swinging tonight, huh? So, basically, San Francisco CNN Democratic National Committee members on Saturday voted down a resolution that would have resulted in a single-issue debate among the candidates, including the issue on the climate crisis. Some Democratic candidates voiced their concerns with the vote's outcome. Former Texas Representative Beto called out the DNC over its decision specifically regarding a debate devoted solely to the climate crisis, saying, "The decision is baffling, as it is alarming," he tweeted. "Our planet is burning. The least we can do as a party is debate what to do about it." So here is Beto trying to make it look like he cares, and he stuck up to the Democratic Party about the vote. What he's saying is that, yeah, we don't need to talk about climate change, but let's talk about what we can do about the climate crisis, implying that the Democratic agenda with this Green New Deal policy is still in play, and that is what we need to do to save our planet. Also, you want to notice how he's using words like our planet is burning. Anyway, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren also voiced support on Twitter for a climate-focused debate on Thursday night before the DNC's vote. Climate change is a crisis that threatens us all. We need to take bold action to stop it before it's too late, she wrote. That's why we need to have a climate debate. I'm sure most of the Democratic Party is wishing that she wouldn't even made that statement, because that makes no sense whatsoever. Well, to us anyway. We know we can't do anything to stop it. But again, this shows you that they are following this narrative of the Green New Deal policy, guys. They want this, all of these Democrats. And here's something interesting. And I'll tell you something, guys. What I'll try to avoid doing is I won't talk bad about Democrats and Republicans. I will mention them. I didn't realize there's a few of you out there that believe in the GSM theory and are registered Democratic voters. So again, I misspoke. I once said that most people that follow this are conservatives and right-wing. But there are a few people out there who are registered Democrats who believe in this channel and what's happening. But here's my question to those folks that are Democratic supporters. Are you hearing what we're talking about here? Are you picking up what we're laying down, in other words? All of your candidates in your party don't want to debate climate change. They want to debate on what we could do about it, but they don't want to debate the science of the climate. None of these Democratic supporters have issued any kind of inkling that they support natural climate change and that the sun is driving the climate. None of them. All of them have come out in support of this Green New Deal. So I have to ask, how is it possible that you follow this topic here and still support Democratic Party leaders when you know they want to pretty much take away the things that we are going to need to survive these climate changes? Nobody here at this channel is debating climate change. The only thing we debate is the fact that man is causing it and can stop it. That's where we don't agree. There's no climate denying. We see the changes. We report them every night. Talking to a friend of mine, Matt, and just in general conversation now with people, going out hunting with a guy and talking about the weather and how more farmers and more people who are already in tune with nature are really starting to talk about, man, I've never seen this. This isn't warming. This, like tonight, there's a lot of people, reporting that it's a cool, crisp night in the middle of our country. August 26th is the dead dog days of summer. Now we got September right around the corner. We will see better temperatures, cooler and more relaxing. But still, some areas like Nebraska and Kansas are still hot this time of year. Some areas right now are experiencing some pretty cool temperatures. I know the overnight lows up here have been in the low 40s. Yeah. So we've gone from windows open, fan blowing, to shut windows altogether. And 44 degrees isn't too far away from cranking up the heat just a little bit, maybe. But anyway, so another concern for the Democratic Party when it comes to their election coming up is the fact that they don't want to talk about climate change. So I guess my challenge for you folks out there that do support Democrats is ask them why they don't want to debate climate change. If they have the answers to it all, if they say that there's a consensus out there, there must be evidence that amounts to showing us that this is it, the science is settled. You would think, since so many of these people that do speak on global warming are saying the science is settled, you would think that this would be an easy climate debate. I've always said this. I believe that I think the biggest thing they're afraid of is, to me, this is obvious. And the obvious is that this is a hoax, that this is a fraud, And they know that the empirical data would debunk everything that Al Gore has said about what's going to happen to the caps and all the snowfall, sea level rise. I'm in a new climate group, thanks to a GSM friend of ours, Mohammed. And he got me into this climate group. And the gentleman was speaking about how sea rise has been happening, but at a rate where it's barely measurable. And, Noah's even said 1/8 of an inch. And I think Gore said something crazy like 20 feet in 20 years is what the sea level rise is going to be. But yet, people like Alfred and Barry, they all buy coastline beachfront property that's at sea level, basically. So if sea level rise was a real threat, why would these millionaire politicians spend all that money on property that will be destroyed because of sea level rise? Makes no sense to me whatsoever. Maybe it's because they know the truth. This whole global warming thing is lining their pockets very nicely, especially when you talk about taxing everything and taking away things that create growth. The fossil fuel industry. Mari was watching a very interesting presentation about nuclear energy, and I'm gonna have to review it myself. And I tell you, something ain't right about that, folks. Because the information that I was hearing was nuclear is completely safe, and the people who push the idea that it's toxic and hazardous and it's going to hurt you and kill you, there's something else going on, and that's for a different show, to be honest with you guys. That's something that needs to be a little more guided, and definitely look more into that. But anyway, back on course here. Democrats don't want to debate. Not surprising here, thanks to what's up with that. And I'll go to the next article that kind of follows this. Climate crusading youngsters erupt after the DNC officials reject global warming debate. These climate activists associated with the Sunrise Movement shouted down members of the DNC after they rejected a proposal to host a single-issue debate on global warming. Several people associated with the group interrupted the DNC meeting singing the union protest song, "Which Side Are You On?" Their protest came after the party voted a 17-8 Thursday in San Francisco against the resolution to place climate change on top as far as a debate issue. "We deserve a chance at a livable future," one activist shouted out. "We deserve a climate debate." Perez said in the Medium Post that the month of climate change is just one of several high priority issues, that it would be unfair to host a debate revolving around it. The DNC has not responded to the Daily Caller News Foundation request for comment. Simone Sanders, Biden's senior advisor, was among those who urged the committee to vote down the debate, telling the officials at the conference that it would be dangerous territory in the middle of a Democratic primary process. Her comments contrast with those Biden made in June. He told a Greenpeace activist at the time, "I'm all in." Guys, listen. The majority of the Democratic leaders support man-made global warming, man-made climate change. They support this Green New Deal. They say the science is settled, yet they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to debate it. Why? And they're dodging the questions here. We got too much to talk about. That's not fair to give it. Yeah, it is fair, because the Democratic president, Barry Obama, he told us back in October 2015 that climate change was the #1 threat to the United States. So if you're going to make that claim, I really think it's appropriate for us to have a debate. It's not fair to have one side say, this is what's happening, that's it, that's that. Nope, don't want to hear it. We're right, you're wrong. Get out of here. And that's basically what the Democratic Party is doing. I'm sorry if I'm upsetting you folks that are Democrats out there. Again, I mean no disrespect to your party. I'm just saying their foundation right now in this campaign, I've heard several of them, they want to make climate change the focus of their campaign, but they don't want to do a debate. And I'll tell you why, folks. Their education on the topic would be exposed, and it would be a shocker, but probably maybe 10% of them actually might have a little bit of knowledge about the climate. The rest would be completely regurgitating news talking points and Green New Deal policies. I'm not saying it would be any better in the Republican Party either, because I've seen Rick Perry talk about climate change, and he doesn't really have a firm grasp on it either. He just doesn't believe in all the regulations that some of these Democrats do. So I'm pointing out a really, really interesting situation here. And I think this deserves a lot of attention, in my opinion. We need to understand or try to figure out why the Democrats don't want a debate on climate change. And that really should be a part of anybody out there who is going to vote in 2020. This should be considered part of your decision on who to vote for. Your party does not want to listen to the other side. Is that being loving? Is that being open? Is that being free? Is that being brotherly like? The Democrat Party, all I hear about is how they want to promote love and peace and happiness. And that's a great message. But when you're telling me that when one side presents information and another side that doesn't agree with it is not allowed to debate it, I mean, that sounds dictatorship-ish. And speaking of dictatorship-ish, it's a new word because I'm getting ready to talk about this guy. So he always inspires me to make new words like Bigley. So here I'm talking about how Democrats don't want to debate climate change, and I always think that's communist, dictatorship-ish. There is a CNN, well, this shouldn't surprise anybody, but there was a psychiatrist on CNN, which was shocking. Trump may be responsible for millions more deaths than Hitler, Stalin, Mao. Wow. Climate change, guys. They're trying to pin President Trump on the millions of deaths because of our Environmental Protection Agency, going backwards on their regulations, that Trump thinks that, he won't do anything about coal and natural gas because he doesn't believe that's, contributing to climate change. And they're adding all the scare, all the scare, fear porn and stuff here. This psychiatrist adds, Trump is a destructive person in this century as Hitler or Stalin was in the last century. He may be responsible for many more million deaths than they were. This is quoting this guy. He may be responsible for many more million deaths than they were. He needs to be contained, but he needs to be contained by attacking his policies, not his person. It's crazy for us to be destroying the climate our children will live in. Wow, way to lay it on thick there, fella. The psychiatrist, by the way, he knows how to manipulate masses. So I'm just saying, guys, you got a psychiatrist on CNN. I'm not sure how far I could trust that. But I mean, listen to this. They want to attack his policies, just as if to say, no, don't hurt him, don't kill him. I'm tracking. I don't want no violence. So he's trying to backtrack there. Don't go crazy on this guy. But let's attack his policies. Well, what do you mean attack his policies? Like what? Like pass laws that you can't get passed because he has the veto pen? I mean, this is counterproductive. So what I'm trying to point out here, folks, is on this CNN channel, they have people that promote counterproductiveness. We all know that the only way that you can attack Trump's policies is if Congress and Senate passes laws together. And if Trump sees fit, he'll sign the bill, especially if there's bipartisanship in the bill. But if Trump doesn't agree with it, he does have that right to veto the bill. So attacking his policies, well, how do you do that? Why can't we just work together as a collective government that we've elected you guys to do the job, and just, if you don't like Trump, fine, figure out how to beat him in the campaign. Don't take it out on taxpayers and waste our time with these long and drawn out situations of attacking policies that could wind up in Supreme Courts that could take weeks, if not months, when we could be doing things productive to help. Like right now, we could be figuring out a better solution on how to help our farmers through their troubling times right now. We could focus on that. We could definitely focus on helping support the president and trying to get this trade war over with. How about some ideas out there, folks? The folks that are out there, criticizing him on this, let's hear your ideas. How are you going to get the trade deal done? I'm sure he's all open for suggestions, folks. Nobody in their right mind can actually really believe that he's rooting for this right now. He's not. Trust me on that. Anyway. Point is, you've got the mainstream media trying to drive these ridiculous things into your head with bringing psychiatrists on, especially CNN. And because of Trump's climate issues right now, there are people out there blaming him for millions of deaths because of his inaction on climate change. So just more lunacy from that side of the fence. And again, I'm not trying to upset the Democrats that support this channel. We love you. I just don't understand where your leaders are coming from when it comes to what we're talking about here. It's unreal. Very long article here. More fake 5-alarm crisis from the IPCC. Talks about how UN and other scientists recently sent out news releases claiming July 2019 was the hottest month ever recorded. That era coincided with the world's emergence from the 500-year little ice age, and ever recorded simply means measured. It does not include multiple earlier eras when Earth was much warmer than now. Indeed, it is simply baseless to suppose that another few tenths of a degree to 1.5 Celsius above post-little ice age levels would somehow bring catastrophe to people, wildlife, agriculture, and the planet. It is equally ridiculous to assume that all warming has been human-caused, with none of it natural or cyclical. He talks about Roy Spencer, also agreeing that July was not the warmest, that his notes based on a limited and error-prone array of thermometers which were never intended to measure global temperature trends. The measurements come primarily from airports and urban areas that are artificially warmed by cars, jets, asphalt, air conditioning exhaust, and other human heat sources that warm the measuring sites as much as 10 degrees Fahrenheit above temperatures in rural areas just 10 to 25 miles away. They do not reflect satellite data or global reanalysis estimates. That would give a much more accurate picture. Now I know, I get it. I get it. There's some of you out there that think that surface temperatures are a much better reliable reading than the satellite readings. And I think they're pretty fair about how they get their information from which satellite and why they come up with it, especially UH. They've shown us that there are other, like the RSS, which is very close to the same temperatures that the UAH has. Also a satellite. Now, what we don't want are satellites that cannot measure temperature if there's cloud coverage at all. And we all know that there is an increase of cloud coverage out there. So if that satellite is used, by the way, the main satellite they use for their satellite data is the one that has the highest temperature reading and the one that is the most unreliable satellite reading. Yet they go with it because Roy Spencer and his team, their numbers don't line up with their agenda. But this article is well written. It expresses a lot of concerns, a lot of frustrations as well. It talks about instead of beef, humans must switch to nutritious and environmentally sound alternatives like green pepper, soy, asparagus, and squash, says the IPCC. Again, that's not far off. I mean, we need to be ready for that, possibly, honestly. And not because we're trying to stop climate change, but we may have no choice. If the climate continues to do what it does, the price for beef may be really high. All right. Says here also, instead of the full package of beef, pork, poultry, we should eat buckwheat, soy, pears, and kidney beans, or other globally optimal plant replacements. Of course, locusts, grasshoppers, grubs, and other insects are also excellent sources of protein, it notes. Now, this is coming from the IPCC. They're telling you, by the way, that your thermostat needs to be at 82 degrees overnight. During the day, it's 78 degrees. They're now telling you, hey, listen, instead of eating beef, pork, and poultry, let's get some buckwheat and soy and pears and kidney beans. That'll fill you up. And oh, by the way, great source of protein, locusts, grasshoppers, grubs, and other insects. Excellent protein sources, by the way. Come on. Are they going to eat the insects? Are they going to actually eat the insects too? This is getting ridiculous. As if to say, the IPCC is like saying it in the voice like, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, you can eat insects instead. It's crazy. Yeah, I know, right? Except the IPCC is telling you to do this because they think it's going to help climate change. What they're failing to say is that we may have to do this anyway because of the grand solar minimum. But they don't want to tell you that because that'll be too much truth, and then you might have to prepare, might actually survive and get by and adapt and thrive. But anyway, I'll leave the article here. You guys can read through this. Very, very, very good article here. I just wanted to point out, though, the IPCC is up to it again, and I think the whole temperature thing is one thing. When you're talking about urbanized temperatures, these record high temperatures coming from rooftops with slates, shingles, runways near these weather stations of airports with jet and the sun beating on the asphalt all day. We've talked about this over and over and over again. They get their warmest temperature ever readings from these spots. But yet 10, 25 miles away, it's 10 degrees cooler in the country. There's a reason for that. And I think those are the temperatures that we need to stick with. That's the natural temperature. That's not being affected by urbanized areas. Look, heat gets trapped in smaller areas and sticks around better. We know that. You go into an area where there's less concrete, less buildings to trap heat to the surface. I mean, it's all natural. It dissipates. That's the reason why it's 10 degrees cooler 10 to 25 miles away from urbanized areas. Not all that hot pavement, that heat that comes from the sun baking the pavement all day. Those aren't that's not natural. But that's where they want to pull these record-breaking temperatures from anyway. So, anyway. What else I got? Oh, yeah. So I got... Actually, let's do this first before I go into that. Let's do the rainforest here. Quickly, because I don't want to get too controversial on this. We've already pissed some people off about the volcano tonight. Now we're going to piss some forest fire people off. I know. I'm just trying some things out, Mari. That's all. Sorry. So you have been Amazon conned. NASA, Amazon rainforest burning at below average rates. What? Worse since 2010. Fires mostly farms, not forests. Bolivia socials wildfires ignored. Yeah. So all these pictures, and again, I don't know the politics of South America or Brazil. I don't know the president. I heard a lot of people don't like him. And again, this could be the media's way of trying to blame him for the fires down there. And like I told Mari the other night when we did the show, I think it was Friday, and we couldn't find any burning acreage. We just saw the amount of fires and how many we've seen, but it didn't want to offer any, acreage or anything like that. And I'm like, something isn't right about this Amazon fire story, because the pictures I've seen, it makes it look like it is in the dead set of 9 just after sunset, in my opinion. It's very dark. And you got to think, oh my God, the Amazon forest is, it's super on fire. And you see all these mainstream media reports and you're like, oh, I can't believe this. And then you got Mark Morano, which, he's I don't give a crap pills today are strong today for him as he posts this. And this is brave. This is bold, but he actually dug and found the truth. And this, we're talking about farms. False alarm. Amazon burning is mostly farms, not forest. Several links here. So why are there so many fires? Natural fires in Amazon are rare. The majority of these fires were set by farmers preparing Amazon adjacent farmland for next year's crops and pasture. Soberly explains the New York Times. Much of the land is burning, not old growth rainforests, but land that had already been cleared of trees and set for agricultural use. It is routine our farmers and ranchers in tropical areas burn their fields to control pests and weeds, and so encourage new growth in pastures. What about deforestation trends? Since the right-wing nationalist J.R. Bolsonaro became president, rainforest deforestation rates have increased a bit, but they are still way below their earlier highs. Wow, I guess so. So there's the graph right there. We've seen way more deforestation. Someone pointed out to me, well, that just means that they've developed all they can develop, and that's why it's so low. Well, okay, that's fine. But again, here's the truth. And what you see in the media is everybody is now taking the stance of, we got to do something about this rainforest fire. I'm going to share a brief little story here. My son is in the entertainment business. I'm not going to reveal what. But the person that is in charge of his entertainment purposes, I guess I should say, wants to get political about the rainforest fires. And 3 days ago, I told him, I said, you might want to tell your partner to just stick with your guys' field and topic, because you don't want to mix politics in with that. Just stick with what you're doing already. And then 3 days later, today, I see this story. And I shared it with him. And I think it made a little bit of an impact about how quick mainstream media is to exaggerate the truth. And not just mainstream media. I mean, we witnessed it today and yesterday. So, again, folks, this all comes back down to just taking your time, slow it down a little bit, vet it, read up on it, do some research on it. Don't fall for this headline crap where, I almost fell for it. I remember telling Mari about it last week when this all came out. I told Mari, I said, I can't believe, did you see how the rainforest is on fire and it looks like it's dark outside, and it's unreal, and I fell for it. Matthew, again, shout out to you, sir. Super chat. Thank you very much. I just saw that as I was looking at my chat. But I fell for it. I fell for it too. I was angry. I thought, well, that president down there, he's a bad guy. I've heard about him and his deforestation. And then now I feel silly because I was talking about things that I didn't know anything about, apparently. As you can see right here, we are not looking at any increase, slight increase a bit, yes, but not anywhere near the numbers we saw back in the 2000s and even in the mid-90s. So we got to do a better job, guys. It's important to hold the integrity of this topic because we don't want to scare anybody. This topic is scary enough on what could happen and can happen. Like we talked to you about the temperature and the climate on the planet, about grand solar minimums. And then we got to worry about earthquakes and volcanoes. And then we got to worry about other disasters possibly caused by solar flares or CMEs. I mean, there's just so many things that have to go around with this topic. The last thing we need to do is add any sensationalists to these headlines. I think everybody here deserves the truth. And time for panic is not now. And it's unfair that sometimes when you try to explain the truth to one side, they don't want to see the proof. And that's concerning when they don't want to actually, even when you show the proof and they don't want to look at it and they don't want to verify it, that's even more concerning. There's nothing shameful about admitting you're wrong. I do it all the time. There's times where we make mistakes on this channel. Mari and I will be the first ones quick to correct it instantly. It happens. We're all human. Just like the people over there at Volcano Discovery, they're human as well. They made a mistake. All right, so let's take a look at our. You know what? Let's take a quick break and we'll finish up with the weather and we'll do the Farmer's Almanac and all that good stuff. Guys, sit tight.
You like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.
All right, so let's take a look at two forecasts. I have here the Old Farmer's Almanac. Old Farmer's Almanac. Yeah, it's fall. All right. The Old Farmer's Almanac winter weather forecast prediction. Ohio, West Virginia, parts of Virginia, and North Carolina, wintry. Interesting. Snowy, icy, icky. Okay. Parts of Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska. Western Kansas, Nebraska, and eastern Colorado, Wyoming, and New Mexico are looking at more wet than white. Really? Low temps, deep powder here in the mountains of Utah, Nevada. Showery across Arizona. Dry and chilly in California. Wet or worse in the Northwest. And a parade of snowstorms in the northern plain states. Okay? Now, let's take a look at the Farmer's Almanac. No, not the Old Farmer's, the Farmer's Almanac. There's two out there. So, a little bit different story, in my opinion. Dry and chilly is what the Old Farmer's Almanac is saying for California, but this Farmer's Almanac is saying cool, normal precipitation. So, cooler temperatures, but normal precip, opposed to dry. Frozen, snowy, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, yes, even parts of Tennessee are in that mix. West Virginia, okay. Frosty, wet, and white for the Virginia, Carolinas as well. North Carolina mainly, not South Carolina. You go up to the Northeast and it's cold and wetry mix. Now, looking at Old Farmer's Almanac, it is wet and wild. And reading this forecast here, they are actually talking about up here in the Northeast that we will see a warmer winter here in the Northeast. For some parts of the country, frigid and frosty conditions will last well into spring, bringing little relief to the wintry weather. This could feel like the never-ending winter, particularly in the Midwest and east of the Ohio Valley, Appalachians, where wintry weather will last into March and even in the first days of spring, reports Sullivan. Now, it also says a searing summer will bring scorching temperatures to the high plains, sizzle and drizzle from the middle of the country eastward, wicked hot weather to the Northeast. That's right, folks. Direct forecast. They have their forecast. I think, honestly, this one is my opinion. It could be the one that's right. This also matches what the Farmer's Almanac here is also saying. So we have one saying that we were going to see wet and cold. And we have another one saying that it's just going to be a lot of cold and snow. The direct weather forecast wants to say that clippers, Arctic blast, winter battle zones all the way into the south, coastal storms, meaning snowstorms and ice, and then, of course, the worst of winter running through parts of Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, upstate New York, and Maine. Average lake effect for the western parts of New York, the Erie, PA, Cleveland, Ohio, parts of Michigan as well. So this forecast to me is showing us a more colder winter and snow. The Old Farmer's Almanac is hinting at a very wet winter, but wintry conditions mainly in Ohio, West Virginia, and the Northern Plains. To me, this is very vague. It's just unfortunate that we have two different results. Now, the Farmer's Almanac since 1818, which also I believe last year predicted a colder winter, they're calling this the polar coaster winter ahead. Polar coaster, meaning polar vortexes. We're going to see ups and downs, which could mean we could see things like, sub-below temperatures in Buffalo and then 60 degrees in January causing ice jam floods and then getting really cold again by the end of the month and staying cold through the spring. Now, the one thing that was in this outlook here was that they were predicting winter type weather well into April for the Northeast and parts of the Midwest. So any way you look at it, folks, I think from Direct Weather and Farmer's Almanac, they're predicting a colder and snowier and icier winter for the bulk of the country. The Old Farmer's Almanac is saying the opposite. I think they're downplaying it. I think they think the temperatures are going to be a little above average. They're favoring the NOAA outlook, where NOAA says, hey, look, we're saying it's just going to be an overall warmer winter and dry in most places. I don't think so, honestly. So, all right, Tropical Storm Dorian to strike. Really, all this is to raise awareness. This thing is projected to strengthen. Go ahead and turn her off. We'll show the video what they think their visual is right now on this particular storm. There you see the tropical storm warning there for St. Lucia, Guadalupe, and this storm is now getting its act together and moving towards what looks like San Juan and possibly entering the Florida Keys at some point by, what is their timeline? Late this week. So by Saturday, we could have a storm that is approaching the Florida. And at that point, there's no indication that this cone is going to go shift to the east or west. Right now, it is just taking a direct aim at Florida. But we'll leave the link here for the exact details. Right now, its current stats, winds are at 60 miles per hour with a pressure of 1,007, moving northwest at 14 miles per hour. So we are not looking at a Category 1. This is Tropical Storm Dorian. And we will continue to monitor that. Let's go to windy real quick here. Mari's got some hurricane tracker stuff up. Again, showing what we're looking at. No indication yet that we are dealing with any kind of hurricane at this point. Take a look at our national weather radar at this point. We get caught up, put up to speed here. All right. So Mari reported some microburst storms that were in Georgia, and tonight we are still dealing with thunderstorms and showers across the south, and once again Georgia and Atlanta, south of Jacksonville, Florida, Oklahoma City, all the way through Missouri, reaching up into Wisconsin and Michigan. Let's put this bad boy in motion. Right now, mainly dry in the northeast, rain showers in eastern Ohio, moving to the northeast, pretty dry in the central plains, some spotty showers across Fargo and St. Paul, Minnesota, but pretty dry out there, guys, for the most part for the United States right now. Let's go take a look up here in Alaska, see what kind of action we have up here, and with what limited satellite we have available. It doesn't look like we are too wet at the moment, as we are kind of lagging here, and forgive us for being behind. There's a Hawaii, hello, Honolulu. Again, this radar is not picking up. We'll try to get a different look at this here in a little bit. Let's go over to GFS real quick, all right? Start here on Tuesday, August 27th. This is tomorrow. Low pressure system off to the coast. Again, high pressure systems are trying to dominate our weather as we move through Wednesday. Showers and thunderstorms coming across the east through the northeast. The south gets chances of rain again Wednesday and Thursday. And then high pressure settles in the Midwest and keeps everyone dry in the south and the northeast around Ohio. Up in the northern part of the Great Lakes, we'll see a chance of showers and a light chance of showers as well. Then by Friday, late this week, we do see a chance for heavier, possibly severe weather developing in central Kansas and southern Nebraska as we continue to monitor this moisture that's coming in to the Gulf from our tropical storm Dorian. And by Saturday, GFS does not indicate that we are going to be dealing with a full-blown hurricane at that point. But what's interesting is that there is a low pressure system here, and it kind of has it stalled out for a minute. I'm just going to leave this arrow there. I'll back up a little bit and watch this. This is that low pressure, I believe. We're going to see it somewhere down here by Saturday. All right. The GFS has got a low pressure system that kind of hangs out here at the Gulf. Put this in motion again. And there it is, kind of hanging out there Monday, September 2nd. Finally takes off into land by the 3rd, but lots of moisture with this particular system. And the reason why I'm keeping the arrow there is that area right there is going to continue to see rain all the way through Thursday. And again, the GFS at this point is not showing a hurricane directly. Wow. Some wet times ahead here is September 8th. That's a Sunday, folks. The NFL kicks off its season for the most part on Sunday, and also my son's first game is that morning, and it looks like a soaker. This is Saturday night going into Sunday morning, and look at all of that yellow and red and orange showing up on the radar in New York and parts of Canada. This will move through quickly on Sunday. By late day and early evening, we will be dry. Back into this will bring some scattered showers, and high pressure just settles in across the United States, making the weather just gorgeous. Dry and cool, I might add. Well, let's see how cool some areas will be. And here we go. I mean, we're watching this storm. Do worst case scenario here. Let's go to 0. I want to see an image that shows me we got a hurricane on the way. And we're not seeing it. I'll have to check wind shear and everything like that. I did not get a chance to look at that before tonight's show. Seeing snowstorms. Wow. Just north of Maine into Canada. So let's take a look at those temperatures then, because that's a worth a look, right? Thermodynamics. Let's go back here. Here we go. So looking at our high temperatures, and I'll move the handy dandy arrow out the screen. But interesting to note too, guys. I'm gonna move this over here just a couple. Daytime highs on August 24th. Notice how we have the majority of this heat. Jeez. Down here, look at this. 60s, 70s across the United States, Midwest. This area right here, 68 degrees, that is not good. 74 degrees, that is not good. These are the areas where we need all the heat we can get. Remember, we're 3 to 4 weeks behind on these crops. If we're looking at nighttime lows in the 60s and 50s, surely that's going to stunt the growth. August 25th, the majority of the country is dominated by upper 70s, mid 70s, and upper 60s. Even in the deep south, you guys are looking at a wonderful break. Texas, Lubbock, it's still going to be hot. Phoenix, still going to be hot. Parts of the south, look at that. 77 degrees in Mississippi. 72 in parts of Alabama. 76 in Georgia. Atlanta, August 27th. High temperatures, look at this. 61 in upstate New York. 57 near Bangor. 66 in Cleveland. I get it. It's August 27th, right? It's almost fall. Not really. So the forecast that we saw with the below normal temperatures here in the Midwest, the central part of our country, right here, still concerns me. Let's focus on this area here as we go through the next few days of August into early September. Again, temperatures in the mid 70s. Look at this. Is this right? Saturday, August 31st. High temperatures. Good grief. Overnight lows in the 50s and 40s in some parts. Warms back up a little bit on September 1st. Not really a lot. 80 degrees ain't nothing to complain about, though. We'll take it. A hot streak right here in the western part of Kansas and Nebraska. But for the most part, the state will be in the low 80s. September 3rd. Heat buildup is now dropping further south. And look at the cooler air down there in the southern part of the states in Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia. That's because they're going to have lots of rain in that region from that tropical depression. That's probably what it will be at that point, by the way. Indicating that we will have cooler temperatures across the northern plains, the northeast, the northwest. These are daytime highs right here. Again, not bad, pretty gorgeous weather. And then we see a cold front moving in on September 5th. Right now it's going across central Ohio, Pennsylvania, upstate New York. You guys can see it right here, actually. Back in this area right here. September 6th, that temperature, that heat keeps getting pushed further and further south. Look at this. By the 7th, I mean, it is definitely fall for the most part in these parts, for sure. 50s and 60s on a regular, 40s now showing up on a regular basis. September 8th, the heat is almost completely gone in the south. Thank you for that down in the south, because folks in the south, especially in Texas, have been baking this summer, so they appreciate this. And look at that cooler air coming behind all that rain that we're going to see on September 8th. Look at this. Widespread 40s across the Midwest and Northeast. Again, this is near the second week of September, so this is where temperatures start to fall. So my point I'm trying to make is NOAA's already off to a bad start when GFS, which typically trends warmer temperatures, is showing us that we're going to be at or below average for this time of year to start off September and going into the 11th of September. So interesting stuff coming up, guys. We'll definitely be monitoring all this here at the Grand Solar Minimum Chain. Amara, would you like to stop over and say hello to the folks in the chat on the microphone?
Hello to people on the chat on the microphone, Jake. Let me go through and give some shout outs, right? I do want to thank Matthew for his super chat. He actually made a funny comment. You gotta laugh. He put, "Can we nuke the next storm over Nebraska? I'm willing to take the chance."
Listen, so there's a report out there about how Trump, I'm sure it was jokingly, telling people he wanted to put a nuke into a storm, and it's been completely blown out of context. Now actualweather.com says the president said he's going to drop a bomb in the storm.
You sound like Mr. Garrison when you say that.
This is Mr. Garrison.
And then Matt, he's on a roll. He's like, "Did Jake say bacon or baking?"
Well, it just depends.
It's bacon.
It's
of
bacon.
Course.
They're bacon in Texas. They are bacon. Okay, I'm Southern Ohio, so leave me alone, Matt.
Boy. Just makes me laugh. Soul Quest 216. See, got to do the noise, Jake. You know what the comment is with the super chat?
What?
GSM has the best hoodies. They're soft and warm. 5 out of 5 stars.
I want one. Actually, that's on my Christmas list.
I've been meaning to get you one for the longest time, and I haven't. I'll have to do that, Jake. You know who popped in the chat briefly?
Who?
The kid meteorologist.
Well, hello there, son.
My favorite kid meteorologist on YouTube. It's good seeing you. He says he has some footage of Dorian on his channel.
He's very, very enthusiastic about winter,
passionate about weather.
And I can't wait to watch this kid grow into what he's going to be doing in the future.
I just love his passion and enthusiasm to his reporting. He's great. I was explaining to people in the chat how sometimes I get sad that my friends and family don't pay attention to our information. I actually was driving in the car with my brother the other day, and I asked him if he saw our show, and he said he's never watched it, not once. And I told people in the chat, we've been doing this for 3 years, so it's like, some people, Tammy actually put, I agree, too hard for people to grasp the truth. They ignore the truth and hoping everything will be okay. I think a lot of people acknowledge that we are in a changing climate. I think anything outside that is overwhelming for people because there's a lot of data and a lot of information to go through. And I don't think really we live in times where people are patient enough to sift through the data and try to grasp it and understand it. We're in the days of instant gratification and understanding, and unfortunately this topic is not that. You can't just dive into it and understand it immediately. It takes time to absorb the information, and that's why we repeat ourselves a lot.
Yeah.
And it does take time for people to grasp it. We understand that, and we consider ourselves a learning channel, and that's why we have these live chats to talk to people in the chat and share information. So but it's upsetting. Friends and family still just
Oh yeah.
Let's see what else. Matt Bros also asked if we're gonna see more bomb cyclones next spring. What do you think, Jake?
Well, it really depends on the situation in the Greenland blocking, how that turns up this winter. We've seen a lot of high pressure already developing near Greenland, and a lot of the times when you have the Greenland block going on and we have these nor'easters heading up the coast, that's part of the reason why those storms are able to hug the coast the way they do, because of the way the jet stream reacts when we have these Greenland blocks. So really it just depends on if the conditions form for that. I wish that was something we could forecast. I know Judah Cohen does a really good job at monitoring the Greenland blocks and all the jet streams. So if you are not following him on Twitter, I advise you to follow him on Twitter. He gives really good information about jet streams and Greenland blocks. So it just depends on the development of that next winter into the spring.
And then a newer viewer named Rawless says, cruising through Georgia, lots of storms right now. It's been interesting in the world news, just going through these crazy flash floods that are very in a small area, but sort of scattered all over the place, and they wind up being tragic. I mean, that world news that I covered tonight had a teenage boy, and then there was 2 people in China, and then another woman was swept, all in different locations. I still haven't got anyone to really confirm these microburst storms, but it has a lot to do with cosmic ray flux and all the extra charged particles we have coming into the atmosphere. Jake, what do you think? Are you just distracted?
I'm reading the chat, and one thing that stands out, it says, so we should be enjoying the last days of this late cycle of heat and predictable weather. We are entering a new cycle physically we haven't experienced. Yeah, enjoy it. Don't stop doing what you're doing, folks. Cherish these warm days all you can. I'm not about ready to drop the simple life pleasures. I'm going to cherish every moment I can until we absolutely have to start adapting to the point where, all right, this is what we have to do. I know a lot of people out there might find it silly that I still take time to watch a football game or to watch my kid play baseball, because there's other people out there that believe that we should be out there preparing for this right now, and that's all we should be focused on. And yes and no. You can't go into it like that, unfortunately. Cherish while we have it, is what I'm saying. Live your life to the fullest.
And then lastly, Thor says, tell Jake, I saw a story from China that's reporting pork is going way up in price and portions are getting smaller due to feed shortages. I'd like to give a shout out to Maga Cynthia. She's on Twitter as Junk Mistress. She's awesome. I don't know if I've ever given her a shout out on the live shows, but she is a wonderful person. She also shared there's African swine flu in 11 countries: China, Russia, Bulgaria, Slovakia, Myanmar, Moldova, Serbia, Montenegro, Philippines, South Africa, and Ukraine, where there was 100,000 culled. So, and then Matt and Naya commented also about that, saying that they're basically giving quotas per person based on your social number, your rating.
Wow.
I mean, so can you imagine if they did that here in the States, like the social ranking of privilege? I mean, whew, wow.
Right.
That's all I got, Jake.
Thank you very much, Mari. That's going to do it for us tonight, guys. This Monday night edition of Grand Solar Minimum News Update. Be sure to check out our solar updates throughout the week. We'll be back again Wednesday night live at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, guys, we will talk soon.